everybody. We're continuing with this series from the book Women Healed, and I'm so grateful that Teresa and Margaret are still helping me recording those episodes, so this is a real blessing. Don't forget, if you want to get your own copy for yourself or to gift it to someone else, you can get it from the St. Paul VI Institute. I keep saying the Paul VI Institute. It's the St. Paul VI Institute now after he got canonized. So you can get it from the Institute, and the link, you will find it in the description box below. We've read stories from infertility section and miscarriage and Creighton model users. So today we're going to read from another section, PMS, which is a section that is really needed. So many women need to hear about this legitimate medical condition. So we're on page 183 in case you have the book. So Physician's Comments by Dr. Thomas Hilgers. It is not easy to determine the number of women who suffer from a series of symptoms that regularly recur during the premenstrual phase of their menstrual cycle. However, it is thought that this represents a very large group. The symptoms include irritability, breast tenderness, bloating, weight gain, carbohydrate craving, tiredness, depression, headache, fatigue, and insomnia. If these symptoms begin 4 or more days prior to the onset of menstruation, and they usually 7 to 10 days, then it is called either premenstrual syndrome or premenstrual dysphoric disorder. This condition can be very severe, causing a great deal of suffering for not only the woman, but also for her spouse and children. How true is that? When I have follow-up, I ask the men sometimes,
oh, I do too. I was going to say that. And I always accept. She'll say, oh, no, I don't. He says, oh, yes, you do.
And I love that it is truly Holy Spirit inspired.
It is.
That God gave that man that ability to know without even knowing her that her period's about to start. And he could tell by this PMS.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I let all my women know that. I trust him because he's sort of that outsider and can look in.
Yes, that's right.
It is hard sometimes for some women to admit it. They feel it's a weakness.
That they have it, yeah.
If they say it out loud.
Yeah, and sometimes women don't realize that all those symptoms are what we call the PMS. All those symptoms that they get before their period.
Many times women just feel as though it's in their head, or they begin to think that it's just in their head, or it's just something normal. They have to experience this, and they don't. It isn't normal.
No, absolutely not. More than 3 days we know is a medical condition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And women would not know that without the Creighton model system.
Yeah. We were not told that. I remember all my life here, and it's something normal to have all what you get before your period starts. Being moody and wanting to eat chocolate, carbohydrate craving, that was my favorite one, wanting to eat chocolate. I was never told that this is legitimate medical condition.
Oh, no.
Until I started charting my cycles.
I remember my grandmother saying how painful her periods were, and that this was just something women had to deal with.
Yes, back in the day that's probably true, but no longer.
No, yeah, exactly.
Wow. These symptoms, however, can be treated, and treated very effectively. The Creighton Model Fertility Care System and the new women's health science of nanotechnology have taught us how to measure certain hormones during the course of the menstrual cycle. This targets the cycle to the appropriate time that the hormone, when measured, will be determined to be either normal or abnormal. As everyone knows, the hormone of the menstrual cycle are not the same from one day to the next. Thus, one of the keys in nanotechnology investigation is to be able to target the menstrual cycle properly. This can easily be done in a woman who charts her menstrual cycles using the Creighton model system, and reproducible results in the monitoring of their hormones can in fact be carried out. In this fashion, a definitive diagnosis of abnormal hormonal production can be made.
Once that diagnosis is made, then a program of treatment can be implemented, which is also used in a way which properly targets the cycle. The most common treatment used now at the St. Paul VI Institute is a hormone called human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG. This treatment is given during the post-ovulatory phase of the menstrual cycle. It stimulates the production of both progesterone and estrogen from the ovary during that phase of the menstrual cycle, correcting the underlying hormonal dysfunction.
In addition, there is a hormone called beta endorphin, which has also been shown to be decreased in these women. A medicine called naltrexone has been shown to be very helpful in this group of patients. The overall success rate of the St. Paul 6 Institute treatment program for premenstrual syndrome is in the 85 to 95% range. In some cases, it is almost miraculous as to the type of recovery that women experience. This reminds me of a client that I taught in my first years of teaching, where she had almost, I think, all of the symptoms that we have, the PMS, the irritability, cry easily, the headache, the insomnia.
The 10 core.
All of them for like 5 days before her period begins. And she started charting the creatine model, and Dr. Watson at that time, she did her hormonal profile and it showed she had a low progesterone. I remember her after taking progesterone the first cycle, she reported that 99% of her symptoms were gone.
Wow. That's
Amazing.
awesome. It is amazing.
Imagine how her life has changed, because I remember her telling me that sometimes she wouldn't be able to go to work because of all her symptoms.
They were so severe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most don't think about it that way. It doesn't just stay in the reproductive area, because that's not how our bodies work. We have this whole system of highways, and it will transfer all over our body. That's why we feel so bad everywhere, and not just in the reproductive organs.
Mm-hmm.
One of the areas that I found quite fascinating when I first learned about the Creighton model system is about the reproducibility of the results. So the first cycle you find out where the abnormalities are. The second cycle they can actually do that reproducible testing on day 7, and they can actually see where the hormone levels are, if they're staying where they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, in the world of science, that right there is in neon lights, and yet our work gets unnoticed.
Yeah.
Isn't that
And that's a
incredible?
hallmark. If it's a reproducible test, that's the ta-da. So we really have a lot of work to do to show others we can do that reproducible. We can show that the women's progesterone levels are kept up.
Yeah.
And all her symptoms gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so true. Teresa, we had technical problem before, but you mentioned a doctor in England.
Yes, Dr. Catherine Dalton. I had learned about her with Dr. Hilders, and then when I was working on my master's, I was looking at PMS and it all came back to me, and I found a lot of her research.
Sure.
And she was working with young girls in England back in the 50s and 60s, and she did notice that when they were maybe incarcerated or maybe when they were in school, that days before, when they were in trouble, they were then followed up by having a true menstruation. And so she began to look back, well, what's going on back here? That these girls do seem to have this commonality of a menstruation, and then they behave better here than they did here. So
Incredible, because
you got to meet her.
I did, and it was just amazing, because just thinking back on it, she knew then that progesterone was an issue in that post-ovulatory time, and the lower the progesterone, the more the PMS.
Yeah. So she actually preceded anything that Dr. Hilders, but independently,
Yeah.
and she liked his work, and she came out to Omaha, as we read in our books, to meet him. I want to know what you're doing.
That's great.
And he was having making great strides in the work of PMS.
Right.
But yeah, she too knew it clear back then. This
Yeah.
availables
That's 50s and
this
60s
information is
as well.
easily available.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to say about
Yeah.
Dr. Catherine Dalton in England.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet we are in 2022. There's so many doctors who still want to deny that there is PMS, that it's a legitimate medical condition that can be treated. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I think how many Catholic schools are maybe having troubles with teenage girls in the classroom, and how this can be handled so differently instead of the old way of just punishment.
Yeah,
Right,
Yes.
They
right.
might not be studying well. How about their test? How about nursing school? Where are those women in the nursing school, the administration, paying attention to our young nursing students? Maybe they're not doing well. And that's a predominant profession where there's women. So it's 95,
Sure.
something like that, percent women in nursing.
Yeah.
So it's a high population, and yet it seems to be largely ignored. Women ignoring women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Well,
true.
that brings me, I'm just so anxious to start this story.
Yes, please, by all means. It's on page 189.
I am amazed at how Different I Feel by Martha Krings. For most of my life, I had to struggle with premenstrual syndrome. I thought this was normal and everyone went through this. For me, the symptoms were primarily irritability, fatigue, feeling down, and crying easily. In recent years, I noticed these symptoms increasing. In particular, a few days before my cycle would start, I would feel like something dropped inside me. I would be fine one day, and then the next day I would be down and very tired. This would last until my cycle started. Once it started, I would feel good until next month. I started noticing this happening about the same time each month, and began thinking something must be different about my system. My hormones must be dropping lower than normal. I asked my doctor about it, but he did not have any recommendations. So I thought this is how I was made and I would have to learn to deal with it each month.
Then my sister told me that a friend had told her that Dr. Thomas Hilgers at the St. Paul VI Institute treats women with low progesterone. When I heard this, I knew I needed to be checked out, so I made an appointment to see him. I learned to chart my cycles with the Creighton Model Fertility Care System. Then, with the use of that charting, the blood test showed that on a particular day of my cycle, my progesterone dropped lower than normal and stayed low until the end of the cycle.
I was started on progesterone injection shots. I received these shots on the peak +3, 5, 7, 9, and 11th day of my cycle. I have been receiving these shots for almost 2 years now, and I am amazed at the difference in how I feel. I am much calmer, and the fatigue and depression symptoms have significantly decreased. There are some months when I feel so good I do not realize my cycle is about to start. I only know by my chart.
In addition, Dr. Hilgers also looked at other aspects of my health. I found out my thyroid and beta endorphins were low. I have been receiving treatment for these, and I feel like a different person. I am able to handle the stresses of life so much better. This reminds me of one of my clients who had the very kind of same thing. She had the same similar treatment and getting this from Dr. Hilgers and Naprotechnology. And she told me, I will never go off this medication. I don't even care. I don't care if I become pregnant, I go into menopause. I don't care. I'm never going off this medication. She felt so good.
Different. Well, the client that I just told you about her, I remember she started using the system to avoid a pregnancy when she had her hormonal profile and the progesterone got straightened. Dr. Watson was having her check it every month on peak +7. And eventually she didn't need to continue with it because it kept going up on its own.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then when she was ready, she now has 3 beautiful babies. They're no longer babies, they're 3 little children. But it's amazing that she was able to find this problem that could have probably impacted her fertility.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
and motherhood.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
she was able to carry a baby, she
yeah.
would have definitely had a different approach with her children every cycle.
I have to say that, I had one client who literally was so low on progesterone, the only time she was happy was when she was pregnant. And so she was forever wanting to be pregnant, and she had a number of children. I think now at this point she's up to number 12.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So progesterone makes us feel very happy.
We call it the happy, healthy, holy hormone.
Yes.
That's a good one. Doesn't have side effects, doesn't harm the woman.
No.
It doesn't.
Yeah, safe to take it, yeah.
It makes everybody else feel better around us too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially the husbands, they don't have to suffer with irritability, they cry easily, all these different symptoms that women struggle with.
That's right, that's right.
If you're listening and you are suffering with PMS, or you know women who are suffering with PMS, regardless of their age, they can be teenagers or they can be in their 30s. They need to know about this. They need to know that this is a legitimate medical condition and it can be treated. So don't delay in sharing this video with them and referring them to NAPWA doctors. In the description box below, I will have link to the NAPWA doctor's medical consultant to the St. Paul 6 Institute, so you can check more information about all of that. Teresa and Margaret, it was great having you for a few episodes.
Thank you so much.
It's been wonderful.
Really, I'm so grateful for your yes to this project, for helping me to get it started.
Yes.
Especially with your experience, so many years of teaching both of you.
Oh
They
my
really,
goodness.
Yeah,
so
keep us
grateful.
informed so we can like your future episodes.
Yes, and maybe we can zoom in and do some of those via
that-
Zoom.
Oh, that would be
also.
wonderful.
With
if we
Zoom
could do
these
that.
days, we can do
Whoa.
everything, so why
Yes.
not? Yeah.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
Yeah,
We'd
thank
love to
you.
help you with your project.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, we need to spread the word. We need every woman to know about this, every couple to know about
Yeah,
this. They
sure.
deserve better than what this contemporary medical profession is giving them.
And it's an easy solution.
Exactly.
Yeah, not
Exactly.
costly.
Yeah. Don't forget to leave any comments, questions, suggestions in the description box below. And thank you so much for watching. And don't forget also to subscribe and to like this video and to share it with others. Thank you so much and God bless you.
God bless.
Bye-bye.